In the game of Dungeons & Dragons, permanent player character death at low tiers, levels 1 through 4, can be frequent due to limited resources and no spells available to reverse it. In the middle tier of the game, levels 5 through 12, permanent player character death may happen. However, it can be reversed due to spells such as Revivify and the party normally having plenty of gold to pay for a necessary spell. In the upper tier of the game, levels 13 to 20, permanent player character death is rare, as the players approach God status and have access to all manner of spells and usually have more resources than they know what to do with. Real life is not Dungeons & Dragons. When a family member, a friend, or a beloved pet dies, there is no way to bring them back. However, Dungeons & Dragons can be used to help the grieving process, whether it is your own or one of the players. Hi, my name is Rich, and I'm a first-time DM. Let's look at how we can use our games to help in the grieving process, as well as one way I use my game to help me grieve the loss of a beloved pet. Please bear with me during this video, as this is an emotional topic for me, and sometimes those emotions will come to the surface. First, a story to set up the rest of this video. Back in 2018, I adopted 2 kittens and named them Han and Leia. They were from separate litters, and with me being the nerd I am, the names were a no-brainer. They were great kittens, with Leia being super chatty all the time, with Han being quieter at the time, but more playful. They helped me get through some changes in my life by being a constant calming presence and truly helped keep me sane. Fast forward to August 2022. Leia was losing weight and acting differently, so my wife and I ran her to the emergency vet, hoping it was a bad tooth causing her not to eat as much. After many hours in tests, it was a bad tooth. However, the vet told us something else you never want to hear. Leia's body was riddled with cancer. After a discussion with the vet, we made the decision most pet owners eventually make. There was no surgery or treatment that would help Leia. So we said our goodbyes, and with tears streaming down our faces, held her as she crossed over the Rainbow Bridge. I have lost pets before, but for some reason, this loss hit me very hard, and still does, 2 years later. I couldn't sleep that night, but came up with an idea, and here's where D&D can help with the grieving process. As Dungeon Masters, we are in the unique position that we control the world and the setting our game happens in. We control the weather, the cities, the lore, and most importantly, the NPCs. It is with NPCs where we can help with the grieving process, and this is what I decided to do with Leia. The question then became, what NPC and a type of character should she be? Well, the first part was easy. She was a black cat, so a black tabaxi was the obvious choice. She wasn't an aggressive cat, and while playful, she wasn't overly so. So making her a former fighter or something like that, or running a tavern, just didn't make sense to me. Then the inspiration hit. She would be a merchant of some sort. She was very chatty from the start, so making her very friendly and helpful to adventuring parties would be perfect. I jumped on Hero Forge to make a mini of her, so that I can get the idea of what she would look like, and use that to help form her backstory and traits. I used her favorite color purple for her clothes, and made sure to include her little white fangs in her smile, and of course her yellow, panther-like eyes. The next morning, I posted the picture of her mini and my idea of her being a traveling fae merchant named Leia the Long-Lasting on Facebook and went about my day. Throughout the day, I was constantly tweaking the idea of Leia the Long-Lasting and came up with a different idea than a traveling merchant. Well, she would still be a merchant, but so much more. In a nutshell, she could be used to move the party to different places in space and time. This would be useful to help bring a new player or a player character to the party, or take the party to a faraway location for a one-shot for when one player couldn't make a session. She would also have powerful wares to sell the party, or give the party depending on the need, along with some information, but not all. She would also have her favorite toys to give the party, and they would do each some kind of spell when thrown. For example, throwing her favorite stuffed turtle would cast Slow. Throwing the red sparkly ball would cast Fireball, all at 6th level with a DC of 20. After all, this is a toy from a very powerful merchant. At dinner with my wife that night, I came up with the idea that she was not a merchant, but in service to the Raven Queen, helping protect the fate touch from other forces looking to change the future and the past. This would allow me to bring in cool storylines using Leia as well. Thinking about how to use Leia in my world was making my grief not as harsh and made me smile more than I thought I would that first day. Part of her backstory was that she was with a family that loved her very much, but she got very sick and couldn't be saved. The split second before she died, the Raven Queen appeared asking to help her in an eternal battle. When she accepted, she became Leia the Long-Lasting and was now immortal. When we returned home from dinner, I finally looked at Facebook and one of my artist friends had done this picture of Leia that day. That artist was Kay Murray, the same artist who does all the logos for this channel and any other D&D related artwork I need. I was brought to tears as it is beautiful and made Leia immortal, not only in my D&D world, but the real world as well. I was looking forward to using Leia in my game as soon as I could. It was only a matter of a few sessions before the chance to use her arrived. One of the players was going to miss the session, so now is my chance to use it. Before that session, I created the Timeless Tavern. The Timeless Tavern is where Leia would live and use to travel to where the Raven Queen needed her, as well as transport the players as needed. The players would see a mahogany door and a friendly voice that asked them to enter. Once they did, they were in an amazing tavern, an inviting place with potions and items on the wall, a dining table with as many seats as needed in the middle of the tavern, and a picture of a man and woman with 4 cats on the wall behind the counter, one of them being a black cat. This tavern could travel through space and time, allowing the players to get a long rest, to be brought any place they needed to be, and allow them to return where they left mere seconds after they entered the tavern. Every time I use Leia in my game, it can be emotional for me, but at the end of the session, I am smiling because Leia feels alive to me for those moments. I plan on one day creating a PDF of Leia the Long-Lasting and providing it to all DMs, so that they too can use Leia in their games. It would include her backstory, items, links to Hero Forge for a mini if desired, and all other things needed to run in an NPC. Once this PDF is ready, I will be sure to post links where applicable. Over these last 2 years since Leia's passing, I still miss her dearly, but she lives on forever in my world. This is what you can do as well. You can create an NPC of a person or a pet that passed for yourself or for one of your players. A word of caution though, while creating and using an NPC for someone in your life that passed can be immediate if you are up for it, I highly recommend you talk to the player first before just springing on them an NPC based on a person or a pet that passed in their life. They may not be at a point in their grieving to handle that in the way you intended. They may begin sobbing uncontrollably, or they may get very angry. While your intentions are noble, you can't control how people grieve. So please discuss this with your player first and abide by their wishes. Even though this would ruin the surprise, in this case, asking first is more important than the surprise. If a player at your table passes away, consider making their current character an NPC in your world. Level them up to 20, and depending upon the class, have them be the former adventurer running a tavern, or the local thieves guild. Have them overseeing the wizard school, or be the highest cleric in their god's temple. This way, the other players will look forward to interacting with this NPC, and in future campaigns, they will be reminded of the player that is no longer rolling dice with them. After working on this video, I have some plans for some more NPCs based on my grandparents, as I'm always thinking of them, so introducing them to my players sounds like a great idea. Hopefully, this video has spurred some ideas in you to honor those who have passed in your life. And if you do have ideas, please share them in the comments, as I would love to hear them. Dealing with grief can be hard, especially when it is sudden. If you are having a hard time, be sure you reach out to your friends and family, and if needed, talk to a professional trained in dealing with grief. Grief can be overwhelming, and I have seen people get to the point where they are only focusing on the grief and nothing else. So just remember, you are not alone and there is always help available. This video is very personal for me, so if you could share that, it would mean everything. The more people that can learn how to use D&D to help them in the grieving process, the better. And if Leia Long-Lasting can make appearances in other games, that would be amazing. If you do use Leia, please shoot me an email. Email's in the description. And let me know how you used her and what your players thought of her. Thanks, as always, to @KMarie. She is the artist behind the logos you see here, on my merch site, and my Facebook page. Be sure to join my Discord channel and check out my Facebook page and merch site. Links to those in the description. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that bell to be notified when a new video from me drops. If you're a DM, check out my Dungeon Master Tips playlist for DM tips and top 10 lists for DMs. The link's right over there. If you are a player, be sure to check out my player videos too. Thanks for watching. Remember to be kind to each other, accept each other, and love each other. Now let's roll some dice.